Yes, yes, yes. It is the Cast-Worthy Podcast. We are back again for episode 7. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine. I am joined here with my gentleman, EJ the Savage, Senor E, and the VP of Research.
Yeah.
How you guys doing this fine eve?
What up, what up, what up?
Yo.
Talking about my dragon.
Good to hear from you guys. Good to hear from you guys. It's April 15th. We got to see some Game of Thrones action last night. We'll get into that.
Tax
I know
day.
you guys are excited.
You said tax day? I thought you don't
The
do taxes,
Sansa.
motherfucker.
Oh, that's right. It is.
You
tax.
still have
This,
to do
I know,
your
right?
taxes, though.
This dude is an
I don't
accountant.
do
I'm like, yo, you know anything about taxes? No, I don't know nothing.
You got nerve to be talking about tax day. Shut your ass up.
Tax
It's
day.
tax day.
Matter of fact, a lot of there was a lot of specials for tax day. Grubhub was
Oh, you fucking
delivering
with
for free.
Grubhub again, huh?
I think. Nah, it just popped up on the phone. I can't do it, man.
Blue
I can't do
apron
it.
and shit.
I'm just thinking about somebody's like dandruff in my, like they scratch their head and then they pop over my shit and grab a French fry or something. Like, oh, it's nasty.
Parmesan cheese fries.
Yeah. Oh, this nigga nasty.
Ryan Reynolds waiting. That shit. That if you I told motherfuckers don't ever watch that movie, yo.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, don't.
For real.
And that's, that was accurate.
Sounds like you got some experience.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did some nasty shit, but I don't want to talk about it. Like when I worked at a college in the student center. Nothing like that, but like I threw, like if they had a Burger King in there, and I made I knew the rush was coming, and I made a bunch of Whoppers with cheese and shit like that. And people would come up and be like, "Can I get it? No pickles, please," because they want it fresh. I got you. No pickles. Make a nice fresh one, hot. Handful of onions on that bitch. I'll take that first bite. See you in a little bit.
What shit are you on? Like,
Wow.
Spiteful, man. You gonna be spiteful? I'm gonna be spiteful as well.
How dare you make me
As
work
if you-
on my job?
Like, for real. Just made fucking 10 Whoppers. Listen, we got a lot to cover this evening. Game of Thrones, little Tiger Woods action, bringing us back for another round. Thank you, Tiger. Thank you. And but I want to ask you guys a question. Quick question. I was having a conversation at work today with a group of individuals, and the subject came up as to whether or not it is possible for a male and a female to just be friends, without strings attached, without going to that next step. And we'll say these are attractive individuals. Let's go there.
So
let's say they're both in relationships. What do you guys think?
So for that, I would say it depends on the individual, like where you're at from a maturity standpoint. So, when I was in my 20s, I used to have this conversation with people. I've told my wife, I've told my sister-in-law, men and women can't be friends, right? Because for a man, he's kind of always on the hunt, right? You don't see the lion don't hang out with the gazelles. You know what I'm saying? So, I used to think that it's not possible. As I've matured and I've gotten into my, mid to late 30s now, I'm different on that situation. I think that men and women can be friends. I have 2 women friends that I'm super cool with, and my wife knows both of them. It's all good. It's no problem. One of my homegirls, she comes by the crib sometimes or whatever. She's over here, just me and her here. It's all good. It's no
But is she a
problem.
lesbian?
No,
Oh, okay.
but
Proceed.
she's been over here. I mean, it's not like she comes over all the time, but she's been here a few times or whatever, and it's just us here, and it's all good. It's no problem. We're just friends. But I think it just depends on where you're at. If you're somebody who, you settled down, you're just looking to have a friendship with a person and not necessarily have anything else beyond that, then it's not a problem. But if you're somebody who is just looking to get into one thing and then get right into the next or whatever, that I don't think it's possible because that person's going to always be on the hunt.
Bookkeeper.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I say no. You can. I mean, like, you can't be friends without anybody else around. Like, you could be in a group of people and be friends and hang out and stuff like that, but it's not like you guys can like just do stuff together solo. You can't like go to the movies or go to lunch or even like, well, I guess nobody talks on the phone anymore like that, so texting is fine, but there's a certain time limit. You can't text after 8 with that person because, you know what I mean?
Come on.
You know what I mean? So I can't, because usually the guy gets there by accident, right? We can all admit that, right? So I don't think.
You're on the ledge with that one, bro. My wife listens to this shit.
Well, it's a cliche. That is there by accident. But all right, so the whole point of the work wife, I mean, we've all heard that. That's kind of a nomenclature that is used. The work wife, somebody that pretty much gets on your nerves while you're at work. And, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's just a fine line between, and it's usually the girl that has the control of how far that friendship can go. If she calls you or reaches out to you at a certain hour of the night, that could just blow up everything. If she,
absolutely, been there.
If you hang out with her and it's just you and her, that's also a no-no. You can't do that.
That's always a no-no.
And if you're ever around, even in a group, and she's a little tipsy and she's rubbing your arm a little bit or something like that, then that's no longer going to be your friend in the future.
Yeah, I mean, these examples sound like pretty specific.
I'm gonna say we should go ahead to the VP before you are single. Don't worry, I'll edit out anything.
I think. I think it's a mixture of both. I think VP's point is if your significant other or your other person, has met this person and they develop, they taking time to respect your relationship, develop something with your significant other, that makes it a lot better. And then, of course, being that you're into something, you can't spend as much time as you would, if y'all were just cool. So it's like, even with some of my friends, I'm like, yo, like, why are you hitting me? Or, you got to set boundaries. I think it becomes a problem when you got a friend that you ain't never laid eyes on. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you got a homeboy or a homegirl. I ain't never met this person. You ain't never go out your way to help me meet this person and, introduce us. And, so what does this relationship entail? When are they contacting you? Do they just show up to your house or, all types of crazy stuff? So you got to have some boundaries, man. But I think it can be done, but you certainly don't really need to have this person that real involved with your life. You shouldn't really be talking on a every day like that. And, I definitely shouldn't meet this person and know this person. If I don't know this person and if it's, a single person, you can damn well guarantee their intentions ain't no good.
I totally disagree with that. And I agree with part of it, like the end part, as far as like talking and stuff like that. The reason I disagree is that my friend that I'm talking about or whatever, we talk daily, not on the phone, but we work together. So we like chat at work or whatever. We hit each other up on WhatsApps, like with voice notes and shit like that or whatever. But the difference is that I don't got nothing to hide. This chick is married. She got a kid. They're happy. I'm married. I have a kid. I'm happy.
But
We're just friends.
you
And
missed my
it's
point, though.
totally just a
You missed my
friendship.
point.
Hmm.
You missed my point, though. I said, A, the person's single.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part.
That's a huge
Right.
thing.
I mean, if they married, that, you know what I'm saying? That makes it more understandable. Plus,
Okay.
the other point that you
They
missed
worse.
Wait,
was,
let me ask you a question.
yeah, no,
Let me
sometimes
ask you a
that is.
question, EJ.
Hold
Are
up,
you
hold
saying
up.
I have to listen
The other
beyond
point
what I disagree with?
no. The other point that you missed too was that your wife already met her.
True.
So I'm saying I said in both instances in my example, if they're single or not in anything respectable, and the significant other didn't meet them, which doesn't apply to your friend at all. Your wife has met her, she's married. You know what I'm saying? Which somebody said it makes it worse sometimes. Understandable, but at least Vari's made the effort to say, okay, meet my family, and this person seemingly respects your family. Plus, you work with them. You know what I mean? So, I'm saying this is not just some random person that your significant other hasn't met and they're single. Get the fuck out of here, please. Get the fuck out of here. Like especially if you're a guy and you're friends with somebody's girl and you haven't shown any effort to say, "Let me meet your dude," you clearly would have fucked. I'm sorry.
Okay, I
Let
hear it.
me
So,
let
Hey,
me
all right,
hey, Steve, can I make a point real quick?
sure.
Based on what EJ is saying, we probably have to listen to what each other is saying so we can respond.
yeah.
It doesn't sound like you guys do that very often. I've listened to 6 episodes here. Usually, it's just
Vari
banter.
straight muting everybody until it's his turn.
I've been thinking you take your headset off, put it on the bed for a little bit, come back and just be like,
Is it my
and another thing.
I disagree with that.
I disagree. I'm like,
furthermore?
motherfucker, this don't apply to your
Uh-huh.
your example.
I want to revise my statement. I know one way you can be friends with a girl is if you were friends with her before you met your girl. If that relationship was already established, and that's the only time you can make that kind of fly.
I agree.
I agree with that too. And you know something else that I think that we haven't necessarily brought up or in a more direct way is it depends on your significant other, right? Because for my wife, she's cool, We have a good relationship. We love each other. It's, we don't got no problem like that where, you can't be friends with this person or I can't be friends with that person or whatever, right? Now, my wife has a friend. She's known this dude since they was like in third grade. They used to be neighbors, friends throughout school, high school, everything. Dude, his chick he can't have no female friends. So something happened. I don't know if it was their anniversary or his birthday or something. And she sent him a text and just said, hey, happy birthday or happy whatever the occasion was. And the girl called, like, why are you calling my dude? Who are you? What's going on? Da da da. And she's like, yeah, me and this dude's been friends since we were like 5, 6 years old or whatever. And since then they haven't talked because the chick is the problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, all right. Here's the thing. I feel a couple things. Let me address EJ's point when he talks about meeting and not meeting, etc. I can see that in a way, but like for me, I've been in Florida for 15 years and I've worked in multiple places, gone to work outings and shit like that. I don't bring my wife out there. She don't know some of the people that are at work just because she don't like people really for the most part. Like if she don't, y'all know her, if she don't know you, she don't know you. Like, and um so she's not into that crowd and she may not know someone that I know at work. Um and then to Vari's point, I think when you ask the question, can it happen? Absolutely. It can definitely happen. We see it, I'm sure it happens every day in multiple people's lives. Um, I I guess the better question, and what I don't think can happen is that people can have friends without those thoughts, right? Um, sure, I have friends. I got some friends that I've been with friends with for a long time, and nothing has happened. Don't mean that at some point in my life I wasn't like, damn, she look alright. You know what I mean? Like it would be, besides me,
Mm.
should the opportunity present itself, for me to say no.
Let me ask you a question, Steve. In those instances with your friends from work, have there ever been any instances where it was, nah, I'm not, well, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't get the feeling. I'm not even going to ask you that question. I don't get the feeling from what you're saying about these people that you really ever felt compelled to need to introduce your wife to them. Like to both me and VP and E's point. Like if we gonna be friends to the point where you coming by, I might go somewhere with strictly just you or whatever the case may be. I would think you might probably extend the invite or have them come over the crib, and that way she subsequently, meets your wife. And like E's point, I've had friends where in my past relationships, I've introduced them to people, to my people, and for whatever reason, like you're saying, they didn't engage because my partner is not fucking with them or not that communicating or whatever. But in newer situations, I made it my business to say, hey, this is my longtime friend. You can get to know what it is. And most times, if you're sociable with it, I'm going to bring you around. But it sounds like the people that you're talking about don't really make you feel compelled to have to do that. But I also want to, echo that because you've been married for quite some time, and I still think your wife doesn't like me.
Yeah, she don't like most people. It's on the outside, like on the outside, she doesn't like people, but on the inside, she
Nah,
does.
I get
I can confirm that, EJ.
What?
it.
Nah, if she didn't
I'm
like
like,
y'all, if she didn't like y'all wouldn't be at my house for like fantasy drafts and shit like that.
oh,
Like
okay.
that, hard stops right there. But yeah, so I think it can happen. I think it's possible, absolutely. I just don't think that should the opportunity present itself that individuals would just be it would be easy to just be like, no, no. Or on top of it, um, when you think about it, people tend to throw those hints. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like there might be one on one side and one on the other. Like you know, um, all of us are part of the faithful man community. None of us would ever consider anything other. But I mean, there are some filthy, filthy young ladies, Jezebels out there that uh their stories I've had work friends, individuals, or acquaintances, I wouldn't call them friends, that we've been in lunchroom talk at old jobs and shit where they've made mention to some of the acts that they perform at home, and said acts are fairly graphic, and they do not leave out the point that their significant other doesn't engage or doesn't find pleasure in those acts.
So
You know what I
basically,
mean? And
they're
as a
throwing
man, you're sitting
pings
there
at you
like,
through stories.
right, because that's what they do. That's what women do. Nasty Jezebels. And of course, us as the
Hmm.
faithful men that we are, we change the subject, bring up Game of Thrones or
Super Bowl.
something like that. But what I'm saying is, it's as a man, right? Just being realistic. You hear something like that, you like, this. Listen. Somebody was trying, like, Mike Epps said. One of them said they gonna suck my dick from the back. I ain't never had that.
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say in these situations, I it may sound crazy, but I think most times, just because of the nature of, and let's, for the feminist on the line, let's just throw out the situation where the guy is being the
Oh,
creep,
Vari
but
or
there
VP.
and oftentimes, especially in my field, depending on your field, in my field where I'm outnumbered by women, I'm usually in a situation that's hella
Hmm.
uncomfortable to where, well, not uncomfortable, but it could be uncomfortable. Somebody's coming out and saying those things like you saying, and I'm either picking the lane like you doing what I think you doing kind of thing. And I think for guys, like VP saying, guys are typically always on the hunt. So women, I think they're smarter in the sense that they always had the upper hand. And so I think that they either perpetuate the situation to go somewhere else that it's not supposed to be, or they dead it. And for that reason, I like to think a lot of times that men are more responsible in this situation. I'm just saying.
I want to add to that. I know that basically alluding to what you are saying, tips for if you are ever to have a female friend. Um, a, don't ever talk trash about your wife or your life or your relationship at all, because your wife will find out from that girl. Um, Always mention your wife or your spouse or whoever it is, mention them by name, talk to them about everything that you do. And from the door, you have to tell your significant other about this, you know, potential friend. You have to mention them by name. Don't say, yeah, just somebody at work, or try to make it seem like it's secret or something like that. Just be full disclosure with it, and you're good.
Right. I don't know what fairy tale you live in. Um,
Um, and let me ask you this: is that what you would want from your girl if she had a male friend?
I trust. I
They
I have
do it
trust.
anyway.
I like and my.
Nah.
I've been with mine for shit. I am.
15.
We lived together for 15 in Florida alone, so we'll go with that. Um, but I've never had any reason to question otherwise. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't care. Like she had a boss that I've recently met, but she would, she'd go to lunch with this nigga and stuff like that. And she's like, "Oh, Joey da 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 da, Joey da 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 da."
Well, that's what I'm
And
saying. You know his name though.
I
She's not like somebody from work.
Nah, but I think
yeah, but
that what Steve is saying is like, okay, if Joey or whatever the guy's name is come up and he's like, "Who's that?" "Oh, that's just dude from work or whatever." Okay, like the way you said it almost made it sound like, "Hey, I met a chick at work today. Her name is Stacy. She's about this tall. We talked for 5 minutes. We may talk again
No,
tomorrow. I just
no,
wanted to let
that's
you
not
know
what
that."
I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is some guys intentionally do not mention the girl or that there is a girl.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you leave that part out. Just don't leave that part out. Make sure that you say it.
yeah, yeah. Um, all right. So that was interesting. At least I know where you guys stand.
You do? I don't.
Thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one in the faithful man community. Um, so Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Tiger Woods. 14 years.
Tiger Woods.
14 years, guys. They held this man down. They dragged him in the dirt.
Mm.
They pretty much did everything but kick him out of the sport.
Mm.
They try to blame it on quote unquote injuries. We know what the truth behind it was, though. I mean, scandals and stuff like that. Of course, he didn't do himself any favors with the DWI that he caught, but that was prescription pills. Um, but man, Tiger Woods. I want to talk about um Friday. I was at work and I have this a friend of mine, his that actually one of my agents, one of my leads. His father works for the Golf Network and or used to work for the Golf Network, and he was like, you know what? Tiger Woods came out, made a statement and said that he's just playing for fun. He's not chasing nothing anymore. And he was like, for that, I think Tiger's going to win the Masters. He's got a good shot at it because that kind of Tiger is dangerous. And dude was spot on. He was spot on. But man, I want to say thank you to Tiger for getting us on top of another sport, back on top of golf.
He's like, we won.
Yeah, man.
I know.
No,
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, I mean, a lot of what you're hearing about Tiger is, all this adversity, whether it was in his personal life or his own personal health or whatever you want to call it. People are like, heart of a champion, comeback story, yada yada yada. And all of that's true. But the thing for me that kind of like touched me a little bit with the Tiger situation is that a couple years back I read an article with Tiger. It was either in Sports Illustrated or ESPN magazine, I don't remember. But he was talking about how he had recently had a back surgery, and while he was going through everything, he had like 3 back surgeries in 3 years or whatever. And it was hard for him to walk, to stand for long periods of time. And he talked about how, he everywhere he goes, he had to have his cell phone because if something happens, he needs to be able to call somebody to come get him. And, as you guys know, I'm handicapped. So that kind of hit home for me, because I have to do that. I got to make sure I have my cell phone on me anytime I move, because if something happens, I got to be able to call somebody. Right. And, so to see him come from that to where, and let me, I didn't finish the point where he was talked about, he was in the backyard and he was home by himself and he didn't have the phone and he fell. And he basically was just like laid out in the backyard until I think he said his daughter came home or something like that. And then they got him help or whatever. And I've been in that situation where I fell down at home, didn't have my phone, and I was just stuck. So to see him go, from that to where you're at your lowest low, basically, you done lost your family, you losing money, you're a competitor and you're not winning anymore. And now you're back on top, that kind of like hit home for me.
Yeah, that's got to be a humbling experience for somebody like him that was on top of the world. Um, being called the GOAT, on track to break every record ever, to go from that stature to everybody hates you, all the fake news out there about the 42 chicks that you slept with or the 42 IHOP waitresses, um, and then just complete cancel culture, before cancel culture existed, and then now to be right back on top, like, um, dang swang walking through. The thing that made me mad though is they canceled the Masters, the green jacket ceremony, and tried to say it was because of rain, because it was due to weather. That kind of frustrated me. I mean, they did it. They said, I think they kind of announced it during the match, but it still bothered me that they did that.
I'm a couple things. Salute to the VP. I don't typically say it when he's around, but I always salute him and his strength in his handicap journey and everything. Being a Marine and you know and everything he's going through. I still think he should have played it off at B Dubs, but he's fucking selfish. But shout out to Tiger. I'm gonna go a different route here. And they got the video of him watching all of the sportscasters talking. They talk about how he
Yeah.
can never win again, which was
Funny.
crazy. It was excessive. Like, and the other thing is too, man, he's still on pace to come back and smash records because he's only in his 40s, right? And I mean, golf is an old man
Uh-huh.
sport where somebody like Lefty, is winning at an older age. You know what I mean? He could really, take this win, get his mojo back, and really, shatter those records still. And it's kind of funny because I was watching this weekend Clarissa Shields beat Hammer, I can't remember her first name, who's a white model German boxer, not hyped up, and Clarissa Shields is the young black girl from Flint, Michigan, And I mentioned this because the two parallels, and I might have been hearing, I might be wrong, but in both situations, the black underdog, which Tiger to be an underdog, in itself is you would never thought we would have been here based on his past, but it just seemed like the commentary around it was kind of like it wasn't too supportive to me, in some instances, but it just goes to show you that the sports media, how negative it can be, even still, despite the fact that black athletes are so dominant in so many sports. And when I say black, I'm including that of nationality. I'm talking about more ethnicity, and non-white. It's just amazing to me how the media still not amazing. It doesn't amaze me, but it's just, even though it's something that I always knew, it just always shocks me to just always be reminded on how the media doesn't typically seem to be on these guys' sides. But shout out to Tiger, man. I'm very happy for him, and like I said, I think he's still at an age where he can really do some things and go on to continue to win.
It's I want to add to what you were saying because we all know how the media likes to build someone up and then tear them down. Um, I'm very happy for Tiger. I mean, all weekend, the 4 rounds, I was just like shouting out his scores to my kids, and they were like, "Yeah, Dad, what are you talking about?" Like they heard of Tiger Woods, but they they're not really following him. They're like, "Man, he's done all right. He's doing good. Like he's tied for fifth. He's tied for first." I was just shouting that out to him, like, "Man, if he wins, it's going to be huge." Um, but let us not forget that Tiger kind of turned his back on our community when he was at his pinnacle. Um, he wasn't riding with us really, um, and this experience, I think, it humbled him. Um, I hope, even what you were talking about with him watching on that tablet, all those people talking trash. This community, our community has welcomed him back with open arms. It's obvious that we were cheering for him. Um, so I hope that some of that hits home with him. You know what I mean? So I hope he just doesn't turn back to the old Tiger Woods if he does win a few more majors and gets ranked up in top 10, top 5. Dare say top golfer in the world again. Um, I just hope that happens. It was an exciting Masters. I don't know if you guys even watch golf or anything like that, but Tiger Woods used to intimidate people because he was, he started to have golfers become athletes again because of his physical presence. He's a beast. Um, much to his detriment, him adding on the weight freaking screwed up his back and his knee. Too much torque on his swings and stuff like that. But he won this Masters using his brains. He saw people making mistakes. He just stayed there, saw people made mistakes, and he was like laying up, just making sure instead of going for birdies that he was getting pars or everybody else was getting double bogeys and stuff at the end there. It was kind of wild. Interesting to see that. I think that at his age, that could take him a long ways. You guys know what Tiger's real name is?
It's Edric, I think.
Eldrick Tont.
Eldrick or
Yeah,
Edric or something like
Eldrick Tont Woods. He sounds like he could be an extra in Game of Thrones, right? Eldrick Tont Woods.
that. But to EJ's point, about
Yeah.
this could possibly not be it for Tiger. I was telling my brother earlier today, like, let's see what happens. It's one major. It's huge for him. It's huge for the sport because I mean ratings for golf have been down like for years since Tiger's downfall. He took the ratings with him because people used to tune in to watch him. And I bet when the numbers come out, this Masters tournament is probably going to have the highest ratings in maybe 7 to 10 years or something like that.
Yep.
But to EJ's point about him being able to do more and to couple that with E's point, Tiger used to intimidate people, and people didn't have to worry about him going into a match. You went into the Masters, US Open, PGA Championship, whatever, and you knew, hey, the field's wide open. I just got to sink a couple of putts and I could win this thing. If Tiger's back, that intimidation alone could help him get a couple of more victories, because people might say, man, he's back. I got to be on my game. I can't mess up. And like E said, Tiger's out there. Let me get a couple pars, sink some putts. These guys out here trying to, shoot for eagle and birdie and stuff like that, messing themselves up because they're afraid of Tiger. So he could almost have that Tom Brady New England Patriots effect, where teams beat themselves trying to outcoach the Patriots. You know what I'm saying?
I know that hurt you to say it. I know that.
Yeah, I don't think
Nah.
Tiger's done by any stretch. I mean, like EJ said, these people, I mean, the people in that sport,
Mhm.
it is an old man sport. I mean, when you look at shit, Phil Mickelson and these guys, they've aged. They're older guys and they're still relevant. You got the young kids, Rory, McIlroy. I mean, even Sergio Garcia is pretty old. Not old, but he's up there. But yeah, if Tiger can get back to consistency, it's going to be hard for him not to continue to win. And this, not like he just won like, TPC or something like that. Like this is the Masters, like the Super Bowl, like E said, of golf. Like I was talking to, like I said, the dude at my job, and he was telling me that in order to be part of that country club, you have to have a minimum annual donation of $1 million. That's how they keep it up, and that's how they, he said they grow the grass fresh every year. They till the whole course, all 18 holes and all of that, and grow the grass fresh every single year. And he said the money that they make off of the members is what keeps the prices down. When his dad was working for Golf Channel, he had tons of opportunities to go, and he said that they went to get um lunch, and you could get a burger, drink, and fries for like $6, like something you wouldn't expect at a huge event like that. But the merch is where it gets expensive, like the shirts and the gloves and the merchandise that people can purchase there. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think yeah, the biggest point is that he can continue and hopefully being humbled, and now kind of maybe he took a trip to Wakanda and triggered his triggered his roots, like E said, and he'll come back and start to claim us, and maybe the
We'll take him
delegation will
back.
take him back.
You know what? You know what though? In the climate of things, I put him up there with Jordan in a sense, that he was protecting the bag, and we also don't really, because we know his father was very pro black from what I remember. I could be wrong, but I kind of have some kind of recollection of his father kind of being pro black, but I think his mom also was the one who kind of gave him the kind of we are the world inclusive kind of
Mhm.
look of things. And if that's how he was reared, you can't fault him so much. It just sucks that at that platform he was never really schooled. And so Tiger's been a child prodigy. He didn't really have he didn't go to school. He didn't go to a college where he was educated. I don't even want to say a college, but I don't know that he had so many instances in his life to really be educated to take that stance. And I'm not giving him a pass for it. But at the same time, we know he's black, and I think the black community, even when Tiger didn't know, we knew for him. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, man, he's always represented as the best as possible. He ain't out here doing the other bullshit that other black men have been doing. We all do bullshit. Not saying not getting on black men, but I mean, I'm not really too mad about that, especially today's day and time. If he said what he said 20 plus years ago today, nobody would really give a shit. You know what I mean? And I don't think one way or the other, he abandoned the community. I think, and I get it. I get it. I just think today's day and age, we see worse. And it could have been worse. And I don't hold him to it. And this is a perfect example as to love the person for their talents on the field, on the grass, on the court, and not really try to make him a representative of our entire community.
And
But I get it. I do agree.
I definitely see what you're saying there, EJ, and I can agree with a lot of that. And to your point, EJ, real quick before I make my point, Jack Nicklaus won his last major at age 46. So Tiger, he still got a ways to go to get it done. But to your point that you just made, we're all basically the result of our life experience. And Tiger's lived life experience is basically, growing up in a mixed race family, went to college at Stanford, so he probably not that there's no black people, but he probably wasn't around a bunch of black people. And he plays in a sport where at the time he was the only black person, or at least the only black person that was known or whatever. So it's probably not incumbent on him to talk about the black experience and things like that. So I don't fault him for that.
You guys see that interview inside? I mean, because I just, before we close this topic out, we got to talk about this guy's hair, man, when he takes that hat off. It is atrocious. His hair, I don't know who his barber is. He just needs to, I mean, you guys looking at it, he looks like, oh my God, this is bad.
His hairline been trash though.
I know,
His
but no,
hairline been some
but the
trash.
back of it and the shape, like he's balding and like certain, like his hair is like a rhombus balding thing he's got going on there. It's like bald in the back, on the sides, in the front. He's got, it's just nasty, man. I don't know what shape his head is. It's bad. He just needs to cut it all off and grow that
But
goatee back or something like that because it's, shit looks bad, man.
you basically making my point, about your lived experience, right? So if he grew up going to, Just Blaze or cut doctors or something like that versus supercuts, he wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah. Try you right. You're right. You've been getting those mall cuts or something. I guess I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you got to remember, like, only black people are the people that you don't hear talking about. Oh shit! Somebody got their ears pushed up. You know what I'm saying? Like in our culture, it's normal to get haircuts. You know what I mean? And the culture that he's been surrounded by, and what Vari is saying is, it sounds like he's saying is, those are the people at work that it's noticeable when they get a haircut. You're like, oh, look at that, Brock
Yeah.
got a cut. Oh, went down to Supercuts this weekend. And so yeah,
His Durant's hair look better than Tiger's
wrong.
hair. That's all I'm saying.
Wrong.
No,
See, why you
no,
always
I
gotta
am
push the
correct.
envelope? This guy.
No, I am correct.
No.
Put a poll up.
It's
Put a poll up.
fuller.
Do it side by side,
It's
dude.
fuller for sure, but it does not look any better at all. Like
I would rather have the peasy hair than what Tiger's got
well,
going
yeah,
on.
you
Man.
could
I don't
fix
even
that, but
know
if you
what
look
he's got
at
going
if you put them side by side and you like, Tiger just takes his hat off. He got the bald spot with thinning hair. Look like
bald spots.
Look like eyelashes.
Spots.
Hanging down the side. And then Kevin Durant that looked like he was doing head spins on carpet with no hat on, and then just got up and walked out the house. I'm going with Tiger every time, man. I'll take the eyelashes.
Crazy.
For real. But it's fixable. But yeah, big ups to Tiger Woods. Shout out to Tiger Woods. It's great to have him back, and I look forward to seeing him play. He's always exciting, and I think he brings a lot to the table. So, without further ado, the big thing that we have been waiting for and discussing and texting and all that great stuff.
Theorizing.
Yeah, and it's gonna come and it's gonna go so fast. Pause. Um,
Yep.
it's gonna be interesting. So before we start, give me a sec.
May I ask, how are we meant to feed the greatest army the world has ever seen? Well, I ensured our stores would last through winter. I didn't account for Dothraki, Unsullied, and 2 full-grown dragons. What do dragons eat, anyway?
Whatever they want.
Man, the shade. I tell you, man, Sansa and Daenerys side-eyed the hell out of each other in that episode. You guys are the local Game of Thrones guys, so I'm gonna let you guys have at it in a minute. But before we get started on that, before you guys get started, I just want to point out, I think my favorite character right now, based on current events, is Euron Greyjoy. He is the epitome of a scumbag, a great scumbag. Like that's the guy you look up to. This guy told Cersei last season, "Hey, I'm gonna be your king. I'm gonna bust them guts." She's thinking, "No, not till after the war." Yada yada yada. Right? He says, "All right, well, I'm gonna bring you some stuff. I gotta show you my worth." Goes and gets, people that killed his daughter, brought her back an army, or her daughter rather, brought her back an army, all this great stuff. And she's still, talking about after the war. And he told her, he told his niece, "Listen, I'm gonna go bust these guts. And then, if it don't work out, then I'm gonna take I'm gonna take the fleet, we're gonna go another route." And
Oh, didn't he tell Jamie he's like asking him for advice, like does she like it, a finger in
yes,
the butt?
yes,
Yeah, that's
yes.
last season. He
And
did last
then
season.
so then he gets there, and she tried to play pompous, Varys type. The
Oh,
old
He almost made me choke.
oh, you want a hole? Buy one. If you want a queen, earn
earn
her.
it.
He like, wait a minute, young thing. Did you realize I just brought you soldiers? I brought you what you was looking for. I brought you a lot. And I guess she thought about it, had to get that itch scratched. And then afterwards, what he was saying was the greatest. How do I compare to the king? And then how do I compare to your brother? And she said some shit like, "Oh my God, I don't know, man. This guy, I hated him before, and I think I still hate him, but I think I hate him, love him. It's like a love hate relationship." Um,
It says a lot
I
about you,
think the
man.
writing for him is like spot on, and he's capturing that character. Um, so that's my piece. I have more. I'm gonna let you guys go though, because I know this is gonna be a long one.
to piggyback on your Euron point, he essentially did last night the equivalent of just a tip, because she says, "I told you after the war." He's like, wars last a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, it could be 3 years. I ain't got that kind of time,
Yeah,
shawty.
man. I got time. Hold on for a second. We got a
She,
real important question though here. EJ, did you watch it?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
you do?
man.
You broke down?
Yeah, I broke down. Called these motherfuckers like, yo. I was like, so what you saying is it's gonna be 15 a month. And I could cancel anytime. Add that, homie.
yeah.
Immediately.
All right.
But yeah, last night, man, the episode overall, in my opinion, I thought that it was the best episode one since season one with the pilot episode.
Agreed.
A lot of the episode ones, they're super slow. Is so much setup happening, and if you're not a fan of the show, it can be easy to want to turn it off and then come back in like episode 4. But with a show like this, you got to watch every episode to know what the hell is going on. so that won't work. So I thought that this episode was the best episode one since season one. I thought it did exactly what it needed to do and putting the players in the right places to get to what we need to get to as far as the Battle of Winterfell. I thought that the revamped opening credits with the map, I thought that was so dope how they went inside everywhere instead of just kind of, a bird's eye view of the map. I thought that was super dope.
Yeah.
Another thing that I saw on the map, not sure if you guys caught this or whatever, is when they show the map coming down from the wall. Did you notice when it looks like the tiles are just falling in place? It was actually the snow turning from white to blue, signifying the White Walkers' march down from the wall. And you saw like where it stopped being blue was at the last hearth where they tore up the Umber Boy.
Yep. I didn't know.
And then
The blue
there was
tiles flipping. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they did a lot of callbacks to episode one where you had that little boy climbing the tree to look at all the troops, the same way Bran was climbing the walls of Winterfell.
Right.
He first was trying to get through the crowd so he can see the army and see Jon and Daenerys or whatever, the same way Arya was in season one or whatever. The Starks are lined up outside the same way Ned and his family were when Robert arrived in the first season. They did a bunch of callbacks that I thought was pretty cool. And the last thing I'll say on it is that the best like acting job I thought of that whole season was, well, two of them. I'll say 1 and 1A was Sam when he finds out about his family. Like that dude might win an Emmy because he was like you thought like he might have found out his family died like in real life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then Jamie at the end when he sees Bran, the way his face go, he looks like, oh shit.
Yep.
I thought that shit was masterful.
You know what you brought up in the chat? You brought up something else that was kind of interesting. Where I'm glad that the writers put that in when Masandi and Grey Worm look at each other.
Yeah,
to like, yo, man, we the only black people in this freaking
because in the books, the black people, a lot of them are slaves over in Essos, where Daenerys came from, over in that desert region or whatever. And in King's Landing, they have some black people because they got a lot of ships that come in and out of there from Bravos. But in the north, they never seen a black person, so they're looking at them like, "What the hell are these people?" So I thought that was a good scene to put in there. The people looking at them like they were seeing something exotic, and then them looking at each other like, "What the fuck are they staring at us for?" I thought that was dope.
Yeah, I think VP, you made the most excellent point. The season openers have been extremely underwhelming since the very first one. I mean, they've gotten worse as the years go by. And while I was extremely excited, I'd be lying if I didn't say, it was somewhat underwhelming overall, but for a first episode, it was clearly the best, and I liked it. I'm excited. I like the pace. I like the acting. I like how Sam came out and got right to it. And it's funny though. I was talking to somebody in another chat that fear that good old HBO is gonna find a way to ruin this like it's ruined every other series ending still looms over for me. But I'm all the way in. And I'm excited, man, and I really want to see what's gonna go on, and sucks we gotta wait how many other days to catch it, but yeah, man, I'm all the way in.
Hey, EJ, I got that same fear. We've talked about Sopranos, we've talked about The Wire, and various other HBO shows that had bad endings. The one thing that makes me think that this show will have a decent ending is that the source material is not HBO's, so it's not necessarily the writers coming up with this stuff. George R. Martin, the writer of the Song of Ice and Fire, which is the series that the Game of Thrones show is based off of, has told them how it ends. So they basically got to take his vision from his head and put it on screen. Can HBO fuck that up? Absolutely. They've done it in the past. But because it's not them having to necessarily create the ending, it gives me some hope.
The I like EJ. This is not the best opening season show of that show. That's just not. You are wrong, and you're on
Damn.
record for being wrong. This is recorded.
Did I say it
Um,
was the best? I thought I said it was the best in a while.
I thought you said the
Vari,
best.
VP said it was the best.
No,
Oh,
I
well,
agree with
I said the
VP's point.
best
It's
since
the
season
best in
one.
season one. Yeah.
y'all both wrong.
Season
Either
one was
way, look,
ass. It
it's
took a
like
while.
I'm happy.
Go ahead.
I I'm happy that they they didn't draw out the whole thing about somebody finally telling John who he was, because we've all known
Yes.
season,
Facts.
all that stuff. But I was counting, and I think we are done with the reunions because that shit is starting to get on my nerves. That was like I watched season 7 right before season 8 came out, and season 7 was just like reunion after reunion after reunion. It was just like a bunch of fanboy stuff. So I hope that all of that stuff is out of the way. So now we know that John can ride dragons. Now everybody has come full circle and everyone's seen each other. Everyone's had the reunions and stuff like that. So we can get down to business. We can get down to this story and and basically focus in on that. Because if they start to do the whole fanboy stuff for the whole season, or even half the season, I'm pissed the fuck off.
I thought it was a good first episode. For a lot of the points you guys made, and partially for what the stuff you said, E, is they got right to it. Like there was no, we didn't have to wait 3, 4 episodes before Secrets came out. We didn't have to wait 3 episodes before we got to see Arya and John on the same screen. We didn't have to wait, for Bran to get somebody to get the information, if not himself, to Jon Snow. So I think that was great. And I think they gave us a lot with Cersei and sending for Jamie and Tyrion. You know what I mean? Inadvertently. Um, and I thought that was good. And then I think the ending they left perfect. I think they could have given us a little more on the first episode since they cut it down so much. I thought they could have thrown another 20 minutes on it and gave us an hour and 15 minutes. And gave us some more content. But I love that they got right to the shit. And the faces, I think what was great about it was the faces we saw when the dragons flew over, like when Sansa saw him for the first time, when Arya saw him for the first time, when the people of North saw him for the first time. Like people were in awe. It was like they saw a Tiger Woods win a Masters or something after 14 years. It was great. And then some of the lines were phenomenal, and I like the way they brought it in. They brought it in, you started to see faces and stuff, and then you had everybody's favorite Tyrion be the first one to talk. You know what I mean? And then he had his line, when he saw Sansa, and he's like, a lot of people underestimated you. Many of them are dead. I think that is a great freaking line. That line is like priceless. Whoever
Yeah.
wrote that was spot on with it. I loved it.
You know what else though? I agree with you that was a great line. But from that same conversation, what I thought was a better line was when Tyrion tells Sansa, um, haven't seen you since that crazy wedding or whatever it was he said. And then
Yeah.
she said it had its moments,
Yeah.
talking about like when Joffrey
Oh,
died.
yeah, some black squiggly veins
That
and
whole
shit
interaction
going up
was
the side
great
of his
because he was
face.
like, what do you say? The lady
Yeah,
in the
it was.
north has a ring to it, and she goes, so does the hand of the queen. Like that was a great scene. That
Depending on
scene
the
was
queen.
great. Or that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too that I like with shows, right? So you can have a show that has decent writing, but the actors can bring that shit home. Or you could have good writing and good actors, and then that shit is just like priceless. And it seems like that's what we got in this episode, or that's like you could say like The Wire, Billions, shows like that where it's like good writing, good actors, they make that shit golden.
It's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic between John and Daenerys now, with Sam in John's ear, like, yo, what would you have done? You've always been the king.
Well,
What would
or
you have done?
no, he said, "Would
'Cause-
she?" So he was like, "You gave up your crown." Yeah,
or
and that
what
was a
she would, yeah,
perfect
exactly.
that
Would
question. I
she?
think they led up to them having conflict the whole episode, and I think that polished it off. Go ahead, E. What else you have?
No, I mean
Hmm.
that was just that is a good dynamic because everything's been lovey dovey. They've got together, they mess. You're like the good. Now all of a sudden, is she going to give up that throne? Is she going to, because think
Nope.
about what everybody forgets what she's gone through. Like you got to go
Yep.
back to those episodes and look what she's gone through, man. She's like been burned
From
down
the
to
point where
nothing, like ashes.
Aquaman rammed those cheeks.
Exactly, man. She's been sold. She's been doubted every step of the way. She's ended slavery. She's fucking Abraham Lincoln out this bitch. You know what I mean? And she's like, she made shit happen that never happened before. Brought nations over to Westeros, and
I
she's
mean,
come
John
this
only
far.
died though.
That's true. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, he only took one to the heart. But her whole claim is that she her her whole claim is that she's the rightful heir,
I don't
right?
think that matters
And
anymore to her, though, man. She's
Yeah,
like,
she was
no,
born.
That's her pitch. She pitches it.
yeah.
And if you stand by that, then when the shit hits the fan and homie comes out like, "Ooh, we slept together and you my auntie, but I got something bigger to tell you." Like she gotta stand. She gotta be willing to stand on the side and be like, "Yeah, all right, you can have
Yeah.
it." You know what I mean? Plus, what's she gonna do? He's a Targaryen. He's familiar with the dragons. Like you know what I mean? It's not like she could turn the dragon
Not
on
only
him.
that,
I don't know
not
about
only
that. I don't
that,
know if he might half melt him.
but not only that,
He's only
he's
half fire.
he's the only one that have went to battle with the White Walkers and seen another day at this point, and
Right.
Yeah.
she ain't ready for that at all. I mean, as we saw, she's not ready
You
for that.
guys are seeing my Valerian Steel mentions. They're just mentioning that shit too much, man. My theory is still intact. It's sound. You know what I mean? So I still think anybody with a Valerian weapon is going to live.
Is gonna what? Live? Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if John's gonna live. I have
Wait a
doubts
minute.
there with him
Before you
living.
go into that, can you talk about the pool?
I so so essentially in our group, as well as some other people that are our friends but don't necessarily know the members of the group, we have basically a Game of Thrones death pool where we have a list of characters and we choose which ones are going to live or die. For everyone you get correct, you get a point. And there's also some bonus questions at the end where you can get like multipliers where it might be 4 points or 6 points or whatever. And so at the end of the season, we're going to tally everything up, and then there's a nice gentleman's wager,
I ain't hear nothing about the
where
wager.
somebody might
I ain't hear
get their
nothing about the
pockets
wager.
greased a little bit. So
Yeah,
that's
that
basically what it
is kind of suspect. It's one of them things where it's like, if I win,
we
then we had a wager. If I don't win, I don't officially know if we had money on the line.
That's
we put the wager, we put it in the chat, and everybody said they was down. And hey, you know me, Atlantis
sounds like
always plays his
EJ though.
bets.
It sounds like
You
EJ to
gonna
be
pay
like,
that.
I always pay my debts.
Nigga, I pay my
Sound
debts
like
twice
come
to this
on.
motherfucker, man.
Come on.
sound like
Come
EJ that'll
on.
be like, "Oh, we bet." Oh, I
Because
didn't
I don't
know
know.
that.
I mean, at least if VP backs it, then it's cool. If it was just you, then you're just being a Kansas City pimp trying to milk us for our funds.
It's suspect. I got a quote. For you guys. See if you can
Game of
guess it.
Thrones
You ready?
quote.
All right.
A quote from last night or just
No.
a quote
Well,
from the
it could be
series?
from last night. I already slipped. If you can't protect yourself, die and get out of the way of those who can.
I know who said this, and I don't know his name. He's a guy old guy, that was warning the one dude about the witch. What's his name?
You talking about
Damn it.
Davos?
Yes.
No, it's not Davos. Davos.
I thought it was him. Who is it? Damn.
The
VP?
Hound.
What the hell? Oh,
The
okay.
Hound.
The Hound.
The Hound.
Not sure.
Damn it.
I like the Hound. I like the
Damn
Hound.
it. You stumped VP.
I liked him seeing Arya. That was great. Arya's
Called her a
showing her
bitch.
that she
Yeah.
I like that she showed Google eyes for Gendry. That was
Yeah. That
Mm-hmm.
got one of my
What
theories
theory is
coming
that?
true. I think that in the end that Gendry and Arya are going to get together. And the reason why I say that is that, remember, the whole reason Robert became king was that Robert and Ned's sister Lyanna, who's Jon's mom, they were betrothed to each other. Rhaegar kidnapped her, which a lot of book fans don't believe that that's true. They think that they were in love and she went willingly because she didn't like Robert, because Robert was basically a man whore and she hated that, you know. And Rhaegar was supposed to be like this loving guy or whatever. But anyway, so once that happens, the war of the war happens between Robert and Ned's side versus the Targaryens. Robert wins, becomes king. All this stuff happens in the books. So anyway, when you when you read the books, and they've mentioned this some in the show, they talk about Gendry like being like a spitting image of Robert. And Arya, they say, looks a lot like Lyanna, right? Because they say that like the Starks, their genes run heavy and they all like look alike and stuff like that. And so they say that Arya looks a lot like Lyanna did when she was young. And you already see they got this flirtation thing with each other when he's like, "Yes, milady," and then she smiles, and then when she shows him the Valyrian dagger, he was like, "I knew you was just another rich girl," and then she was like, "I'm the only rich girl you know," or some shit. You see what I'm saying? Like they doing like this little flirty thing with each other, and so I've been thinking that in the end they're gonna end up getting
I
together.
thought that a long time ago when they first popped up. I was like, but she was young.
That's my pick for the winner of the throne is Gendry.
I thought that too, but I thought that
Nah.
again a while ago because if you're going down the Baratheon bloodline, he would have eventually been the next one as a bastard after Cersei decided to force her youngest to jump out a window through the mental damage she did to him. But yeah, I thought that too.
But you know why I don't agree with that, Steve and Eric, is that you got to remember, at the end of the day, even though we watch this thing on HBO, this is still George R. R. Martin's story. And in the books, Gendry is not really a big character the way he is on the show, right? And in the books, they really only highlight him as Robert's bastard, and Cersei had all of his other bastards killed or whatever. Remember in season 2, when they went and killed a bunch of Robert's bastards around King's Landing or whatever, but Gendry was able to escape,
Mm-hmm.
In the books, there are 3 of Robert's bastards, and the other 2 are actually more central than Gendry is. You have this one named Maya Stone, because remember their last name is based on the region of the realm that they live in or whatever.
Yep.
And so the ones who are over in the Eyrie, where that fucking crazy little boy who's Sweet Robin, the one who still breastfeeds at like fucking 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
she lives there, like in that area or whatever. Her name is Maya Stone or whatever. And then there's another one named Edric Storm who lives in the Stormlands where Robert's castle is, where he used to rule before he became king or whatever. And then you got Gendry. The other two, Maya Stone and Edric Storm, they're way more central characters than Gendry is in the books. And so because of that, it leads me to think that Gendry is not necessarily gonna end up in the end being the king, although they have merged Gendry's story some with some of the Edric Storm story from the books. So I think that's why his role is as expanded as it is, but I still don't think that Gendry ends up being the king in the end. I think that they send him, whoever becomes king, whether it's Jon, Daenerys, Sansa, whoever you got, I think that person sends Gendry to the Stormlands to become the Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. They may even legitimize him and make him a Baratheon, or they may say, fuck it, the Baratheons, Starks, Targaryens have fucked the world up. Let's start over, and it's House Gendry now, or whatever the fuck,
Yep.
So I think there's one more what you were saying. I think there is still one more reunion. How do you guys think Theon is going to be accepted this next time around?
I think he'll be accepted fine. I mean, he already hashed it out with Jon. Sansa actually owes her life to him. After you watch her freaking get raped, which did not happen in the book either.
Correct.
The only other person, I mean, who else? It's just the North. I mean, the North as a collective, their reunion with Theon, their reunion with Jaime is just going to be the biggest awkward thing. They've got to get over. The North is just like stubborn old freaking hicks or something like that. You know what I mean? They just idiots and stuff like that. They still want to. It could be a White Walker coming at him like, but you freaking betrayed me back in 10 years ago to my family name and blah 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 blah. So I don't want your help.
Sounds like
and that's the thing with when you look at Game of Thrones or whatever, is that the people there are all busy playing the game and worrying about titles and what does this mean. Like they're sitting in the hall of Winterfell bitching Jon out about bending the knee to Daenerys. Like, yo, there's an army of thousands of fucking zombies coming towards us. Like, can't we talk about this shit later?
Exactly.
Like what my title, I don't think my title matters right now. Like, we need to fucking try to live,
They
but
don't
everybody don't got
understand
that
it.
hour in the ball like that.
Yeah, they don't understand it. I did like the way Bran was kind of keeping people in check, like when Sansa and Dany originally came across paths and they were, kind of going at each other slightly, and he was like, "Listen, we don't got time for this."
Yeah.
I did like that. So,
But Steve, can I say something real quick? That one thing that was probably the only thing I did like from the episode, was that they're doing the whole meet and greet and Bran's like, we don't got time for that. The Night King's coming. He got a dragon or whatever. And everybody's looking like, oh shit. And then the very next scene is them sitting in the hall arguing about titles.
But does this eliminate the whole theory that Bran is the Night King at some point? Is because why would you even warn them or be fearful? Does this eliminate that theory in any way? And
yes.
Okay, so if it doesn't, will you say E?
Yeah.
Right.
So Night King, dude.
I don't think I ever believed that anyway.
Right. So if we go with VP's notion that it doesn't, then this series is gonna end pretty ass. Because I just don't see how you could be the very same thing that you're telling people to be afraid of.
Well, EJ, let me say this. I don't think Bran is the Night King, but I don't think what we've seen so far eliminates the theory.
Okay, explain.
So the reason why I say that is that look,
it's 1 hour.
The reason why
you got 2.
The reason why I say that is that you know, from what I've seen so far, it appears what's happening is that, and remember, we're past the books or whatever, so I'm kind of basing it on show only. But in the show, Bran didn't really get to learn everything he could from Bloodraven, which is the guy in the tree, the three-eyed raven
True.
guy, or whatever. He didn't learn everything he was supposed to learn from Bloodraven. And so what I think is that it's Bran basically time traveling, trying to fix shit, and he's actually fucking stuff up or whatever. Like the whole when Jaime killed the Mad King, and he was like, all he was saying was burn them all, burn them all. A lot of fans of the books think that you got a time traveling Bran who was going back telling him like burn them, meaning like burn the dead bodies so they don't turn to White Walkers. But because this motherfucker was crazy, he was thinking I need to just blow the city up with the wildfire or whatever. You see what I'm saying? But I don't think that Bran is the Night King because we've seen the Night King get made, and it was another person.
Oh, so you don't think it's a Night King?
Yeah, I don't.
That he's.
I don't think Bran's the Night King.
Oh,
I just
so
don't.
I think
I don't think
everybody's
what
consistent with
I don't
that.
think what we've seen disproves that. But I still don't think that Bran's the Night King.
Man, you can't. If you don't think he's not the Night King, you can't hedge your bet. You can't be like, I don't think he's the Night King, but he might be.
That's not a.
You hedge your bet.
That's not a
You hedge
hedge.
your bet. Yeah, it is. The big time hedge.
So as of today, roundtable, we'll start with E. As of today, and we can change it, in future recordings. Who do you think wins the throne?
I still will say Gendry wins the throne, and I will throw in there that we will see Ned Stark in this final season.
Oh, got a faceless theory. Got a faceless theory.
Mm-hmm.
As a flashback? Or...
No, I think we will see Ned Stark. I think Arya is running from Ned Stark in that one trailer that we saw.
Okay. Vari, VP.
Who I think wins the throne?
Yeah.
I got Sansa down as winning the throne.
Okay.
And I base that on not necessarily anything book related, but they're talking about how she's smarter than everybody. And, it seems like she's outsmarting everybody because she learned from Littlefinger. And our author, George R. R. Martin, bases a lot of these characters off history. And I think Sansa's based off Queen Mary, who was a bachelorette queen in England for a long time in the, I believe, 1600s.
Okay. EJ?
I got Tyrion.
I like that.
Tyrion,
I like that.
I like that. Can you mind elaborating, my brother?
I think I really don't have much to deduce why, but I think because he has avoided so much death. Arya is a warrior. I also believe that her day of reckoning is coming. For the things that she's done, I think Sansa and her naive ways is going to lead her to die. I think Dany will die before Jon. And then I ultimately think that Jon's sorrow and grief will cause him not to want to be king overall, but just stake his point and position maybe in the north, or maybe even become the new king of the White Walkers. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. I think Sansa's gonna get it. I think let me go back. I think Sansa's going to be a fill-in for a baby. I know you guys are so hell-bent on the fact that Daenerys can't have babies. But I don't think they ever truly said she's incapable, but more to the fact that she could die in doing so. I think that she dies in childbirth potentially. Jon sacrifices himself to the Night King to save the baby, leaving Sansa as, the holder of the throne while said baby grows into adulthood.
Sound
So you think
theory.
she's gonna be a regent?
Sure.
So you're saying she's gonna be a regent?
That it's a sound theory because the only person that told her that her her womb's all jacked up was that crazy witch doctor chick that she
Yeah,
ended up
Mary
killing.
next door.
Yeah, that's the only person that's told her about all this stuff. The whole prophecy, all that crap, comes from a
Now
crazy witch doctor
yeah.
bitch
Now
that she ended up killing.
the fire chick, that's Melisandre, right?
Yes.
Do you guys think she
Yeah,
plays any part this season?
I
I
do.
think she dies.
Well, she
I do.
told Varys he's gonna die. That's why I got
Yeah,
him
she
first
told me.
on my
She said they're both
list.
gonna die.
Yep, I got Varys first on my list.
But
Bonus
it's
points.
What?
funny how me and Steve's theories kind of cross paths because the only difference is that I have Sansa dying.
Really?
Yeah, I mean he
Really?
thinks Jon sacrifices himself to the Night King, to the White Walkers, right? And Danny dies. Yeah, I only difference is I think Sansa dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something's up with those dragons too, man. That whole point, reference to them
Mm.
not eating. Because you got to think back to the beginning where something had to happen to actually have those eggs hatch. Certain things had to happen within the world for the need for dragons. They were kind of dormant. So it's almost as if they're coming to their end.
Yeah, I think the dragons will stick around. You got to have dragons to create more dragons. They got to procreate. Plus, I think if they kill another
Well, they're
if
all
they kill
mates.
another dragon, I think Peter's gonna go crazy.
And like,
Um, yeah, so I think we had some good theories there, and I want to see how it's gonna play out. I can't wait until next week and ongoing, and I hope we just get as much content as HBO can fit into every minute, and they don't cloud us in the beginning with
Yeah.
flashbacks and then cut us short 10 minutes every week.
Well, from what I've seen online is that episode 1 and 2 is basically going to be set up. Episode 3 and episode 5 is going to be
Episode
the
3.
battle episodes, and the only reason that episode 3 and 5, and so the reason that we think that, or that I think that, is that the person who I saw who mentioned this said that a couple of months ago when HBO released the name of the directors for each episode, they were saying if you look at these directors' past work, you would assume that the episodes they're directing are more setup pieces. Whereas the guy who's directing episode 3 is the guy who directed the Battle of the Bastards episode. And then the guy who's directing episode 5
Red Wedding.
is the guy who he did Hardhome when Jon first fought the White Walker.
Got it.
Remember in season 4?
Well, why haven't they brought back anybody that did the Red Wedding?
I mean, they could have, but I mean, it could have been for another episode.
By far, that was by far. I maybe the asking price negotiation, but damn, why would you not bring them back?
yeah, that was the most. That was like one of the most powerful scenes
ever.
That, like,
it was the most epic part
fiction.
of the show in its entirety. If you've never watched it at all, you heard nothing. Do you remember how much media coverage and internet tweeting hashtags the Red Wedding? I mean, damn.
And you know what's crazy about that, EJ? Like, I wasn't a book person then, right?
Really?
And like the show is what brought me to the books or whatever. But I didn't actually start reading the books until after season 3. So when the Red Wedding happened, I went in blind, and I'm watching, and I'm like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like, because you know how when everything changes when the Reigns of Castamere come on, that song or whatever. and Catelyn's looking around like, what the fuck's going on? Because like she knows that song, so she knows something up, you know. And I'm sitting here just watching. Yeah, I'm sitting here just watching like, what the hell? The wife already knows what happens because she already read the books, right? And then when they stab the chick in the stomach, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yo, I was like, I'm not watching this shit no more. I'm fucking done.
Niggas like stealing,
I was like, I'm
juice and shit.
fucking
What the
done.
fuck, man?
And then
My mom's house.
and then afterwards, I'm
Good
like, man, I can't wait to see what happens
Good
next
reference.
week. And you know what's so crazy too about that, EJ? Like, I watch like shows that I'm really into. I watch them over and over to analyze them and see what's happening. And every episode of Game of Thrones, I've seen at minimum 2 to 3 times, except for the Red Wedding episode. I've only watched it that one time.
Again, huh? But I will say, I think how many of y'all watch Sons of Anarchy other than me and Steve?
I watch that garbage ass shit.
I watch it.
Yo, can we kick E off right now? Like, can we kick off right now? Like, it's that Philly shit right there.
Yeah, man, listen. It was okay up until they got to fucking Ireland. That is the definition of jumping the shark. And you know it. And you know it.
Nope. We're still nope. Fuck you. So Steve, VP, and myself, the most horrific and most sad death I seen on TV was when my man Opie went out in jail.
Oh yeah, man. That was bad. Oh my goodness.
You saw that?
I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, all right. You good? You good back? You back good with me?
Yeah, that.
I watched the whole thing. I'm giving you a intelligent review of the show.
No, you are. I can't disagree with you. I love the show so much. I can't.
There was parts that was cool. There was parts I'm like, it seemed like, there's these things that we've all come accustomed to. Sons of Anarchy, Games of Thrones, MCU.
This motherfucker said Games of Thrones. He took the S off the end. Game of Thrones and put it on the games.
You know what I mean? You know how to spell it. Even like Harry Potter and shit like that. Like, we have become spoiled to the point where we want an ending. We want something that was kind of written completely or almost completely before it's brought to public. I don't think Sons of Anarchy was that. I think it had
it definitely fucked
like
up
the pilot, and I think that they had something going, but I didn't think they had like an ending, like kind of like Lost, and they were just trying to ride it out.
Yo, a lot of these people, and I think Vari gives the people over at HBO too much credit, because a lot of these writers, man, they get, and you see this with Jordan Peele's most recent film. People get too smart. They start to do too much, and they've written themselves in a rabbit hole to where it doesn't pan out right.
Yeah, but also with Sons of Anarchy, I think what may have happened in that show is that they probably didn't think it was going to catch on like that, and then the show got super popular, and they probably thought, oh, this thing will be on for like 3 seasons, and then we're gonna move on. But that shit blows up, and it's like, oh shit, we don't got any more material, because we thought we were going to end the show in season 3, you know? So, and now you got to come up with 4 or 5 more seasons of material, and you're tapped out, you know?
And
they were going off with what was getting the most hits. They were going off of, so it became a formula, because they needed like music with no dialogue.
Yeah, motorcycle chase.
Motorcycle chase. Fucking this guy putting on his fucking white sneaks. And his fucking a couple of sex scenes, you know what I mean, and then throw race relations into that shit. But it just became a formula. It was so fucking obvious. I got turned off.
Sutter is a scatterbrain writer.
Sounds like a lot of hatred.
Way in the was it The Shield? I think it was The Shield. That was his other project. He's a scatterbrain writer, and when they should have bailed and went to a prequel, they didn't. And I think a lot of these shows are just, to your point, Ian, I got to give you credit. I didn't want to acknowledge it. They're just going in for the baits, for the click. And it's like, they got to get, we like to believe, because these people make a living off of this, and you would think because there's $1 million at stake that they know what they're doing. But in reality, these people lack common sense. They're not very in tune with what the people like. They're not doing focus groups like they used to on TV anymore. They're not. You know what I mean?
They're in the
They're in a bubble.
They're in the bubble.
Yeah, I think what happens is once you get in so far that, to Var's point, you lose content, but then you've also had your ego stroked so much, especially with Sons of Anarchy, for being on a network channel, not being on a cable channel, or movie channel, HBO or something like that. You know, they were, they were huge. It was a huge show. They were getting away with a lot of stuff, smoking weed on on the show, swearing on FX. This dude's having sex. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Chick face sitting on
yeah, like that. They got the, I think Kurt Sutter, because there was rumors of him ending it like 2 seasons prior, and then they renewed and they renewed again, and so I just think he was out of content, and maybe he just couldn't think of anything and was like, well, motorcycle show, motorcycle gang. Well, I guess we should have a motorcycle chase. You know what I'm saying? But it just got to the point where it always was unrealistic with the gun violence, and never any cops around except for one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where they're riding through the streets of LA or whatever, shooting at each other, and nobody's around,
no
and then it's
freaking
just like, all
helicopters
right,
and shit.
yeah, we
You know
out.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that point, to that
OJ
point,
get one white girl, he get the whole fucking fucking National Guard on his ass.
yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was still leading to that. I mean, hands down, one of the best shows that ever hit network TV. That
But fuck you, because you don't think it's better than Breaking Bad. So
it
your
is better
point
than
is
Breaking
moot.
Bad.
It is not
Breaking Bad is
better than Breaking Bad.
trash. Breaking.
Put a poll up.
I don't have to put a poll up. I know that. I know television. Breaking Bad is doo doo.
Better than Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad was so bad that it was bad. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
That's what kind of scares me about Billions or whatever, because the show has been great so far through we're like coming up on the halfway point of season 4. And when the show first came out, when it got renewed, I had read that the creator and showrunner had said they were basically looking at making the show 5 seasons. And now, because the show is so good and it's so popular, Showtime wants more episodes than 5 seasons. So in season 3, you could kind of see where they were going to kind of land the plane. You know what I'm saying? But now that we're in season 4 and it don't seem like they're going to end after 5 seasons, it seems like they're getting ready to start flipping things to extend it. And it makes me
Yes.
wonder, is it going to
Yes.
make the quality of the show go down? Because they had planned on landing the plane after 5 seasons, versus now they're going to refuel that bitch in the air and try to keep flying,
And go to another destination.
All right. So next week we'll see. I'm sure we'll see lots of new content for Game of Thrones.
I need more sex
We'll
scenes.
get into some. Well, there was some boobies. We'll get into some.
Yo, how did we not talk about the bronze
some
scene?
flapping?
The what?
How did we not talk about the bronze scene
Bron?
with the girls?
You think he gonna kill? He ain't gonna
No,
kill
I'm talking
those.
about with
Like,
the
he ain't
girls. That shit was funny as hell.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You
He's
said
a
that.
creep,
Oh,
though.
she's so young
He's
to
a
have a
creep,
pox
though.
or something like that.
Yeah, she'll
Fucking
be.
Clyburn
She'll
said
be.
that shit.
Poor
He's like,
girl will
what?
be dead within a year due to the pox. It's like, whoa,
I'm
which
surprised.
one?
Oh
I'm surprised.
shit!
I'm surprised VP ain't boycotting. Ain't boycotting that dude.
It's very sad. The whole show is sexist. I don't understand.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Or that was a good scene. That was great.
Oh my god.
Next week we have to talk about, or not next week, but our next recording we need to talk about the NBA playoffs. We'll have some more games in. We'll be a little further than just 1-0 for each series, and
Well, Philly tied it up tonight.
Yeah, they won by 22.
Yep.
But y'all lost the first one. Just want to make note of that.
145. So did Toronto. So did Denver. What do you think? The Magic winning? Is the Magic winning?
I'm
Is
not
the
a Magic fan.
winning?
Not a Magic fan.
The Magic won.
However,
but I thought we were going to. I thought we were going to save that for the next recording.
I just wanted to throw shade at the 76ers.
Yeah, I know.
I hate the 76ers just the same way I hate the Heat.
Where the Knicks at?
You know what? That's fine.
Who you taking, Morant or Williamson?
Man, we don't necessarily need Morant in the sense that
they're taking Zion.
We're gonna take Zion
matter
for the
whether
tickets.
They need him or not. You gotta take him.
I wasn't saying we don't need him, but I'm saying we're gonna take Zion for the tickets alone. If we can't get KD, it doesn't matter what we do. We gotta somehow.
Zion declared today.
Yeah, he declared. We gotta somehow get KD. If we don't get KD, that doesn't matter what we do. Zion's gonna fill seats, but is he ready to fully do anything in the NBA? I don't think so. I think he'll be a good piece to have with Knox and the other guys and a KD and possibly maybe a Kyrie. But I think Kyrie goes to LeBron to complete the bromance. But, I'm fine with the Dennis Smith Jr. Or if we don't keep him, Kemba will be a free agent. But yeah, man, if we don't get KD, man, I don't give a shit what we do. So I'm hopeful. Because if we get KD, we busting the whole East ass.
I hope you don't. I hope that
I know
doesn't
you do. I know.
To be honest.
And the Heat are some shit. They're never going to be anything again because Wade is retiring and they're going to be trash.
10 years,
trash.
Yo.
Told you they wasn't
About 10 years.
Playoffs. Told you the Magic was better than them. VP don't want
to hear. You said that, but I
mean, this guy.
You said that, but again, the Heat have won 3 championships since the last time the Magic played.
You motherfuckers in Miami, yo, you had Shaq, then you had LeBron and Bosh. Y'all, you know something? You motherfuckers are never gonna win another championship again in the next 30 years.
I'm gonna write that down.
They had to show this.
You know this thing's recorded, right?
Wade's last game. Yeah, they had to tell the Heat fans the game started an hour earlier on Wade's last game, so these motherfuckers would show up.
That's true.
On time.
Well, I mean, if we talk about early, VP walked out on their championship early.
Talk about it. Talk about it. I didn't know this. Talk about it.
When Ray Allen hit that shot?
Before Ray Allen hit the shot, VP was on social media talking about, don't nobody be texting me. I ain't even trying to hear it.
Fucking Pat Riley. Pat Riley doesn't know how to construct the team. I can see him now. Pat Riley doesn't know how to construct the team.
You'd be like, oh shit, we won?
That's exactly what happened.
Is the worst coach to come from Popovich's tree of coaching ever.
He disappeared.
Oh my god.
He disappeared from existence when before that shot. He was like, "We're done." The post was up there. Like, don't nobody touch me. Don't nobody be calling me. Like, that whole time when all the fans left,
from his house.
Left as well.
No, I was still watching. Yeah. Right. I was still watching.
Break your TV and shit.
He quit. So you don't get.
I was still watching, but I did post on Facebook. I said, if you got my fucking number, don't call or text me because I didn't want to hear no shit.
He's big bad. He's big bad. He's big bad. His job, he was like, I'm calling out. You work at home. So what?
My car broke down. No, you work from home.
I'm gonna be late.
Broke.
I'm gonna be late. Be like 20 minutes late.
I got a flat tire.
Nigga late to his computer work at home.
Only in my I'm not coming to work. Scumbags. Yo, Miami fans scumbags. Scumbags, man. I'm convinced.
So Before we go out, I alluded to it at the beginning. Catch us on Spotify. Catch us on the Apple Podcast app. Just
Spreaker.
search Castworthy in the podcast search. Catch us on Spreaker as well, if you're familiar with that. If not, you can Google it. Spreaker, speaker with an R added after the P. Soon to be on YouTube and hopefully iHeartRadio. But find us also on Instagram and Twitter at Castworthy. And you know, uh, roll with us, ride with us, and comment. So we appreciate the listening. And without further ado, VP, if you will. Without further ado,
Yo,
VP,
I love
if
how he
you will.
builds this up on a silent,
All right,
thing
looks like
here.
we lost VP, so I'll go ahead and say it. Everything that you've done in your life has led you to this podcast, including staying to the end, and we appreciate you. And if you will, like us, follow us, and comment on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll interact with you. We appreciate you, and thank you.